Okay, so today we will talk about this spatial senses. So, in our body, there are two types of sensations. One type of sensations is called somatosensation. Somatosensation. And another type of sensations are called spatial senses. Okay, so we'll talk about spatial senses. Somatosensation includes touch, pain, temperature, pressure on the body surface, on the skin. So these belong to somatosensations. And somatosensations are present almost everywhere in the body, right? Widely distributed. You have pain almost everywhere, right? You have touch sensation on the body surface everywhere, right? You have temperature sensation everywhere. So somatosensations are distributed, the receptors are distributed throughout the body, widely distributed. Okay? But spatial senses are localized. You have specific organs for spatial senses, right? For example, vision or sight, audition or hearing, olfaction or smell, gustation or taste. Okay? So you see, for vision you have what? Which organs? Eyes. So for vision you have eyes. For audition, you have ears. For olfaction, you have nose. For gustation, you have tongue. Make sense? So, localized, specific organs.
So
yes.
are we doing the visual system or the special senses?
Let me talk. Okay. So, as I said, from this one, you can see that visual belongs to spatial senses, right? So this is the background I'm giving you, then we'll go to visual, okay? So, spatial senses includes what? Eyes, vision, audition, olfaction, gustation, right? For vision, you have eyes. For audition, you have ears. For olfaction, you have nose. For gustation or taste, you have the tongue. And the receptors are located only in those organs. Is it clear? Okay. So, today we'll talk about the spatial senses. First we'll talk about the vision, then we'll talk about other spatial senses. Okay? So if I ask you what are the differences between the somatosensations and the spatial senses, these are the differences. Okay? Now, visual system. Visual system is responsible for location. Make sense? Or site. All sensory systems have two parts, peripheral part and central part. Okay? So, all sensory systems have two parts, peripheral part and central part. For visual system, peripheral organs are eyes. Your two eyes are the peripheral organs. So, we'll talk about the eyes. First, we'll see the parts of the visual system. Then we'll talk about the peripheral organ, eye, structure of the eye. Then we'll talk about the muscles that regulate the movement of the eyeball. Then we'll talk about the regulation of light, how the amount of light that enters into your eye is controlled or regulated. Then we'll talk about the most important part of the eye, which is the retina. So, retina is the most important structure of the eye. Why? Because the receptors, visual receptors, are located in the retina. Remember, the receptors are the cells that receive the signal, receptors. So, retina contains the photoreceptors or visual receptors. Anybody, do you know what are the photoreceptors in your eye? They are called what? Rods and cones. Those are called the photoreceptors. Located where? In the retina of the eye. Of course, eye. Which is structure? Retina of the eye. That's why retina is the most important structure, right? Photoreceptors are there. Okay, so then we'll talk about the visual pathway. So those are the things we'll go over first. As I said, that the visual system has the peripheral part and central part. Peripheral organs include two eyes. Now, central part is located in the central nervous system. If you see the eye, eye has a number of structures. Eyeball is the main part. Eyebrows, eyelids, conjunctiva, lacrimal apparatus, extrinsic eye muscles. Those are the structures present in the eye. Now, eyeball is the main part, you know that. Only a small part of the eyeball we can see from outside, right? Only a small part of the eyeball you can see from the outside. And which structures you can see from outside? You can see the white area, right? Which is called the sclera. You can see the iris, that colored part down, and inside the iris, a dark hole is present that is called the pupil. Make sense? So iris, sclera, pupil. Those structures you can see from outside. Most part of the eyeball is inside. You don't see. Now, the muscles that control the movement of the eye are extrinsic eye muscles or extraocular muscles. Same thing. Okay? Extrinsic eye muscles or extraocular muscles. So, they get attached from outside. This is the eyeball, okay? So they come from outside like this, from different directions, and get attached to the eyeball. And they control the movement of the eyeball from different directions. How many extrinsic eye muscles you have? 6. 4 rectus and 2 obliques. Okay? Rectus means straight, oblique is not straight. So those are 6 extrinsic or extraocular muscles. 4 rectus or superior rectus comes from above, inferior rectus below, lateral rectus and medial rectus. So 4 rectus are like straight muscles, and 2 obliques, superior and inferior obliques. You see here in this picture, this is the superior rectus, straight, inferior rectus, right? This is lateral side, lateral rectus, and medial is in the just in the opposite side, this one. So 4 rectus muscles. Make sense? So this is the eyeball. Look at this. If this is the eyeball, superior rectus is here, inferior rectus is here, lateral rectus is here, medial is here. Make sense? Now superior rectus contraction will cause what? Move the eye upwards. Make sense? Inferior rectus will downwards. Lateral, medial. Okay? And 2 obliques are like this. This is superior oblique, this is inferior oblique. So oblique will do what? What do you think? This is the eyeball. Rotation. Rotational movement. Make sense? So those are the extrinsic eye muscles. And they are controlled by 3 cranial nerves. 3 cranial nerves control these muscles. What are those? Just know the names. Oculomotor, trochlear, and abducens. Oculomotor, its name is telling you, right? Oculo means what? Eye. Oculo indicates eye. Motor is movement, right? So oculomotor is the main one. Other 2 are trochlear and abducens. So remember those 3 cranial nerves that control those extrinsic eye muscles and movement of the eye. Now we'll see the structure of the eyeball. First, if you see inside the eyeball is divided by the lens into 2 chambers. So this is the lens. Okay, this is the lens. So the lens divides the eyeball, inside the eyeball, into 2 chambers. This is the anterior chamber and this is the posterior chamber. Which one is bigger? Posterior, right? Much bigger than anterior. Anterior chamber contains water-like fluid, thin water-like fluid. That is called aqueous humor. This one. Humor means fluid. So aqueous humor, water-like fluid, thin. Aqua, you know, aquatic park, water park, right? You know that? Aquatic park. It's a water park. So water-like. Posterior chamber contains thick jelly-like fluid and semi-solid. So that is called vitreous humor. So, sorry, VI T-R-E-O-U-S. Vitreous. Vitreous humor. Okay. So, two chambers contain two types of fluid. Now we'll see the wall of the eyeball. If you see the wall of the eyeball, you have three layers. The outermost layer is tough fibrous layer. You know fibrous layer is very tough. You already know that. Lot of fibers. So this is the outer most layer, that is the fibrous layer that protects. The middle layer is the layer that contains a lot of blood vessels, and that layer is the vascular layer. Makes sense? Vascular layer is the middle one, okay? And innermost layer is the most important one. You remember I mentioned most important structure is what? Retina of the eye. Retina is located in innermost layer, and this layer is called sensory layer, also called sensory neural layer. Neural layer. So these are the three layers in the wall of the eyeball, right? Outermost is the toughest one, that is what? Fibrous. Middle one has a lot of blood vessels, that's the vascular. And innermost that contains the retina, that is the sensory neural layer or sensory layer. Now let's go back to outermost fibrous layer. Okay, fibrous layer forms two structures. This part, posterior fifth, sixth part. That means posterior fifth, sixth part is the sclera. So in outer fibrous layer, you have the sclera that forms the posterior most part of the outer layer. This is the sclera, that white part of the eye that you can see. Only the anterior 1/5 part, this part, is called the cornea. So sclera is posterior 5/6 sixth part, and anterior 1/6 is the cornea. Okay, so cornea is this part. So let me write down. In outer fibrous layer, front part is the cornea, and rest part is the sclera, the white part. Now you tell me, cornea is opaque or transparent? Highly transparent. Light enters, right, through the cornea, we know that. Sclera is what? Opaque. So light can, that is very important. Why? Because light only enters from the front, right? Not from the side, and should not. So the cornea only allows the light pass through it. Highly transparent, this part. And white part is opaque. That means light cannot pass through it. Is it clear? Makes sense? Okay. So let's say the middle portion, the vascular layer, this one, the red one here. Middle portion forms a number of structures. Most part of middle portion, like this whole part, contains capillaries. That's why this is called vascular layer, capillaries. Now look at the front part here. Front part forms a couple of structures. Here, the front part forms ciliary body. It's like muscular structure, ciliary body. So these are ciliary bodies. And then another structure is formed by the middle layer, that is called the iris. Iris. So middle vascular layer forms capillaries, contains the capillaries here, most part of it, and in the front part you see ciliary bodies and iris. So those are the structures formed by the middle layer. Okay. The part that contains the capillaries is called the choroid. Choroid. Okay. So choroid is this part, and then ciliary bodies and iris. So that's the middle vascular layer. And innermost layer, as I said, contains the most important structure, that's the retina of the eye. And retina, remember, is not present everywhere, only in the back part. So sensory neural layer is only present in the posterior part of the eyeball here. So this is the retina. Okay. Sensory neural layer is the retina of the eye. Make sense? Alright, now let's go back. How many chambers inside the eye? Two. Separated by what? Lens. In front of the lens you have anterior chamber, right? And behind the lens, big posterior chamber. Anterior chamber contains water-like fluid, that is called what? Aqueous humor. Posterior chamber contains jelly-like fluid, vitreous humor. Okay. Now, fluid. What's the function of the fluid? If there is no fluid inside the eyeball, what will happen? Eyeball will shrink, squeeze, right? And will get irregular. The shape will be lost, right? So number one function is what? Giving the shape of the eyeball. Make sense? Keeps it round. Number two, you see here, this vitreous humor plays an important role to keep the retina attached to the wall. If the pressure goes down here, there is a chance that retina will get detached from the wall. Make sense? So that pressure of fluid keeps it attached to the wall because it's not very strongly, adhered or attached to the wall. So which two functions are important functions of the fluid? Number one, shape, right? Giving the shape. Number two is what? Prevents the detachment of the retina. Is it clear? Sometimes that happens, retinal detachment. Have you heard that? Detachment of retina comes off. So that doesn't happen due to high pressure here. Now, that's the fluid in the chambers. Now tell me, in the wall of the eyeball, how many layers you have from outside to inside? Three layers. Outermost toughest one is the fibrous. Middle one is the vascular. Innermost one is the sensory or sensory neural. Now let's go back to the outermost fibrous layer. Okay, fibrous layer, posterior fifth sixth part is opaque and white. That part is called what? Sclera. Only anterior 1/6 part is transparent. That is cornea, right? Very good. Middle layer, middle vascular layer forms the part that has lot of capillaries. That part is called what? Choroid. Okay? Choroid. So most part of it is choroid here. Anterior part forms ciliary bodies and what? Iris. Is it clear? So those structures are formed by the middle layer. Innermost layer is the most important layer because it forms what? Retina of the eye. And at the very beginning today I said why retina is the most important structure of the eye, because it contains photoreceptors. What are the photoreceptors? Rods and cones. Remember that? So you have rods and cones. If you don't have photoreceptors, you won't be able to see. So now here, quickly again, review. Base pair lens, anterior chamber, posterior chamber, okay, and fibrous layer. So this part is the sclera, this is the cornea, middle vascular layer, this is choroid, you see the capillaries, ciliary bodies, and iris. Okay. Then this yellow structure is the retina of the eye. Now, we all know that light enters into the eye. First, which structure the light has to pass through? The cornea, right? Cornea. Then aqueous humor. Then pass through the lens. This is the lens. And lens does what? Converges the light to put exactly on the retina. This is very important. Lens, here you see when the light passes through the lens, it converges the light like this. Bends the light to put the light or focus the light exactly on what? The retina. That is very important. Light must be focused on exactly on the retina. If it doesn't happen, you won't see clear. Why you use glasses? If your lens cannot focus the light exactly on the retina, this lens, extra lens, helps you to do that. Okay, so that's the eyeglasses. We'll talk about that, just know that. So those are the structures you see the light has to pass through. Cornea, aqueous humor, then lens, then vitreous humor, then falls on the retina of the eye. Okay, now we'll see this structure. This is the iris. If you see the iris, it is a round muscular structure that has a hole inside. So this is the iris, and this opening, aperture or hole is called the pupil. Okay, so this is the opening here. This is the iris, you know. So this is the pupil. Now, iris is a muscular structure and it has two types of fibers. Inner fibers are like this. circular. So inner circular or round fibers, and outer fibers are radial like this, also called longitudinal. So inner circular fibers and outer fibers are like this, radial or longitudinal. Okay. And iris controls the size of the pupil. So look at this. This is the muscle, and inside the muscle, this opening is the pupil. So the muscle iris can regulate the size of the pupil. Now these are the circular fibers, right? So tell me, if these circular fibers contract, what will happen? Circular fiber contracts. This is the pupil, okay? So around the pupil, you have circular fibers here. So if circular fibers contract, then the pupil will get smaller. Make sense? That makes sense. Like this, okay? Now, radial fibers are attached like this from all around, right? So if radial fibers contract, that will dilate the eye. Make sense? Pull from all different directions outwards. Okay? So that's how the size of the pupil is controlled. Now, why the size of the pupil should be regulated? Because that will regulate the amount of light entrance of the amount of light. Is it clear? If I put, now you tell me, if I put flashlight on your eye, pupil will constrict. We know that, right? Because too much light is trying to get in, right? So pupil will, iris will regulate it by making the pupil smaller. Make sense? If you are walking in the dark at night, more or less light should get in. More light should get in because light is less, right? So your eye needs more light. So pupil will dilate. Make sense? In dark, pupil will dilate. In bright light condition, pupil will constrict. Make sense? To regulate the amount of light enters. Also, autonomic control, sympathetic, parasympathetic. Parasympathetic stimulation will constrict the pupil. Pupil will get smaller. If I do like this, okay, pet, you feel comfort, pupil will get what? Smaller. Make sense? You know, parasympathetic. We talked about that, right? Parasympathetic, when you are relaxed condition, right? Sympathetic is fight or flight response. So excitement. So when excitement occurs, sympathetic stimulation, people will get bigger. Okay? Okay. Now, in the retina of the eye, you have. So first, let's go back. So we have talked about the iris structure. Now let's see, talk about the retina. This is the retina. In the retina, you have rods and cones. So this is the retina. Center of the retina is called the fovea. Very center point is fovea. And around the fovea, you have the macula lutea. Macula lutea. In fovea, you have cones in high concentration. Lot of cones are in the fovea. Now the cones in human eye or retina, there are three types of cones: green, red, and blue. RGB. Red, green, blue. And blue. So you have cones, three types: red, green, and blue. Also, in macula lutea, you have cones, those three types of cones, but in less number. So fovea contains densely high number of cones. Macula lutea also contains cones, but in less number or concentration. Three types of cones. And because of these three types of cones, you see the things in color. Red cones are useful to see the red color, green cones are useful to see the green color, right? And blue cones are useful to see the blue color. Make sense? Now you see other colors too, right? Like orange or yellow, right? Why? Because of combination of two or more cones. If both red and green are activated at the same time, if you combine red and green together, that will give you what? Red and green? Yellowish. Yellow or orange. Okay? So when only red is activated, you see red. So red color will activate the red cones. Make sense? Blue color will activate the blue cones. Green color will activate the green cones. Yellow color will activate red and green. Make sense? So that signal will go to the brain from the cones. That's why you see so many colors, because how many reds, greens, and blues are activated. Depending on that, you see that color. Is it clear? Like if I give you red color, green color, blue color, you can make many different colors, right? If I mix 50% red, 50% green, that will give you one kind of yellow, right? If I make 20 and 80%, that will give you different color, right? So you can create many colors exactly like that. How many reds, cones, green cones, blue cones are activated, that gives you that color. Okay. So cones are responsible for three things: color vision, daylight vision or bright light vision. To see in bright light, you need cones. And visual acuity. Visual acuity. What is visual acuity? The ability to see the small things. Small things. The ability to see very small things is the acuity. How small you can see, that is your visual acuity. When you go to your eye doctor, eye doctor gives you to read the chart, right? The letters. Have you seen that? To test what? Visual acuity. That means what? How small you can see clearly. Is it clear? So the visual acuity is the ability to see clearly the small things. Okay? That is tested in eye doctor's chamber. Okay. Now, in the outer part, of the retina, you mostly have the rods. So these are the rods. Now rods are responsible for dim light vision, to see in the dark or less light condition. You need the rods. Here, if you see the retina under the microscope, powerful microscope, you will see the rods and cones. Okay? The yellow ones are the cones because of their shape, and these are the rods. Okay? Two types of photoreceptors. Those are the photoreceptors. However, in the retina, you have other cells. They receive the signal from the photoreceptors and give the signal to the ganglion cells. So photoreceptors are here, and from the photoreceptors, the signal is taken to the ganglion cells by other cells. Just know the name of those cells. Those cells are also important. Bipolar cells, horizontal cells, and amacrine cells. So these are the cells: horizontal cells, amacrine cells, and bipolar cells. They take the signal from the photoreceptors, rods and cones, to the ganglion cells of the retina. Now, so you have all those cells in the retina here, and what happens, the ganglion cells, these are the ganglion cells, the axon of the ganglion cells get together like this. You know the axons. So from the ganglion cell, all of their axons come out like this as a bundle, and that is the optic nerve. Optic nerve. So optic nerve is actually a bundle of the axons of ganglion cells of the retina. Okay? And that optic nerve takes the signal out from the eyeball, from the eye. That signal will now go towards the brain, get out from the eye and move towards the brain. So ganglion cells are very important, right? Their axons form the optic nerve. Okay. So now you know the retina and the photoreceptors and the other cells of the retina. Now let's go back again here. You remember, light enters into the eye, and in the lens, convergence occurs. That means the light bends while it passes through the lens. This is the lens, and light must be focused exactly on the retina. Exactly on the what? Retina. I told you before, if light is not focused exactly on the retina, you will see blurry. So to see the things clear, light should be focused exactly on the retina by the lens. Is it clear? And this lens of your eye is soft and flexible. This is the lens of the eye. It can change its shape like this. It is soft and flexible. What happens? You see, if I ask you to see this one, okay, And if I move this close to you, it gets bigger, right? Bigger. And your lens gets more round. When I take it away from you, gets smaller, right? And your lens gets more flat like this. So bringing closer, lens gets round. Taking away, gets flat. Make sense? So that's how the lens is changing the shape all the time. And that's why we say flexible lens. Lens is highly flexible. For example, this is the object here. From the object, the light enters into the eye, and the lens focuses the light exactly on the retina. Okay. Now if I bring it closer, it will look bigger. Same object, but will look bigger. So what will happen? The lens has to bend more to